Hey everyone, my name is Wedge. Pro Tour Fate Reforged is over, and now that the dust is settled, I think it's pretty clear that Amulet Combo is the most ridiculous deck out there. Naturally, we have to deck tech it. Hold on to your butts, this is gonna get complicated. It's modern, y'all. It's modern. Amulet Combo is a combo deck, but not in the traditional sense. By that I mean that two cards won't just win you the game. There's a lot of interaction between a lot of cards in the strategy that leads to your combo working. Simply put, the deck gets you a lot of mana really fast, then you play Primeval Titan, then you get more lands that make your Primeval Titan huge. You can do all of this on turn 2. That's the combo. Let's go step by step. We'll start with a full play set of Amulet of Vigor. 1 mana artifact whenever a permanent enters the battlefield tapped and under your control, untap it. Then we have 4 Summer Bloom, 2 mana sorcery. You may play up to 3 additional lands this turn. Yeah, the card's nuts. Anyways, you want these cards because they let you do some crazy things with your mana sources. If you haven't already been introduced, these are the bounce lands. They come into play tapped to add 2 mana of different colors to your mana pool, and require you to return a land you control to your hand when they come in. These don't get played very often, but in Amulet Bloom, they're perfect. Remember, your amulet lets you untap any permanent that comes into play tapped. Let's say that you have your amulet in play. You then play your Simic Growth Chamber. It comes into play tapped normally, and its trigger to return a land you control to your hand goes on the stack. You stack the amulet trigger above the land's bounce trigger, so the amulet trigger resolves first and lets you untap the chamber. Now you have the ability to tap your chamber for mana before the bounce trigger resolves, and you have to return a land you control to your hand. With me so far? I hope so. Okay, next take Summer Bloom. Lets you play 3 additional lands this turn, remember? Well, how about this? Turn 1, you play a land and tap it for Amulet. Turn 2, you play a land that taps for green, say a Gemstone Mine, and you play Summer Bloom. Now you have 3 land plays. Use all of them playing your Growth Chamber, tapping it for mana and returning it to your hand. Suddenly you have 6 mana to do whatever you want with on turn 2. So what do you do with this mana? Well, best case scenario, you want to play a Primeval Titan. It enters the battlefield, you get 2 more land cards that both come into play untapped thanks to the amulet. Which lands do you choose? You'll most likely want a Boros Garrison, the red-white bounce land, and a Slayers Stronghold. The Boros Garrison, thanks to your amulet, will be able to tap for mana before you have to return a land to your hand. With this mana, you can use the Stronghold's ability to give your Primeval Titan +2/+0 Vigilance and Haste. Now your Primeval Titan can attack the turn it came out, and it's an 8/6. You declare attackers, triggering the Primeval Titan again. This time you'll probably take something like a Sunhome Fortress of the Legion to threaten lethal the very next turn. As for this turn 2 play, your opponent's taking 8 damage, you fetch 4 lands, and even though you have to return a bunch of them to your hand because of the bounce lands, you're miles ahead of your opponent most of the time. Obviously, this is a pretty fragile and inconsistent combo. Most of the rest of the deck simply helps you go off. Summoner's Pact and Pact of Negation work towards this goal. The Summoner's Pact grabs your Primeval Titan from your library, and the Pact of Negation protects it against counter magic. Sure, you have to pay for it the next upkeep, but you're about to make so much mana it doesn't even matter. The deck even runs one Slaughter Pact just in case your opponent is trying to be cheeky. Playsets of Serum Visions and Ancient Stirrings do what you'd expect. The Visions just gives you the best draw it possibly can, while Ancient Stirrings is a cheap way to find your Amulet of Vigor or a specific land you're looking for. Which land might that be? Possibly Tolaria West. The transmutability lets you pay 3 mana to discard this card and search your library for a card with converted mana cost of 0. That card goes to your hand. Well, don't have a Primeval Titan or a Summoner's Pact to get a Primeval Titan? Use Tolaria West to find a Summoner's Pact to find your Primeval Titan. You can also use this to find a Pact of Negation to protect your combo. Yeah, there's a lot going on here. Is that the end of the combo deck? Not really. There's an entirely different combo in the same deck. Yeah. Ever heard of Hive Mind? 6 mana enchantment. Whenever a player casts an instant or sorcery spell, each other player copies that spell. It's a powerful card. Well, this deck plays 3 of them, and it's an alternate win condition. Remember the packs I just told you about? Let's assume you're against a burn player. You play Hive Mind, then you play Summoner's Pact. They have to copy the spell, which means that they now have to pay 2 colorless and 2 green at the beginning of their upkeep, or they lose the game. Yeah, dirty tricks are dirty, but effective. The Hive Mind part of the deck actually has the ability to win on turn 1. You use your one of Simian Spirit Guide to add 1 red mana to your mana pool. You play Amulet of Vigor. Then you play a bounce land. It untaps, you tap it for 2 mana, it returns itself to your hand. With that 2 mana cast Summer Bloom, then play the exact same bounce land 3 times in a row, returning it each time and making 6 mana. Use that 6 mana to cast Hive Mind, then cast a Pact. There's no way that your opponent's going to be able to pay the cost at the beginning of their first or second upkeep. Maybe Affinity can tap out if it's on the play and has the best draw ever, but beyond that, this will kill pretty much anyone. I know I've thrown a lot at you. Here's a summary. You play Amulet to abuse your bounce lands and get extra mana. You use Summer Bloom to get more lands in play or to combo with Amulet. Use this mana to either get a Primeval Titan and go crazy or play a Hive Mind and win the game on the spot. That leaves a ton of questions, but it's the easiest way to explain what's happening here. The only non-land card in the main deck I didn't mention is Azusa, Lost But Seeking. There is a pair of them. They function very similarly to Summer Bloom, just a bit less explosive. The lands are complicated and there are plenty of one-ofs, so bear with me. We'll start with the bounce lands. 4 Simic Growth Chamber, 3 Gruul Turf, 1 Selesnya Sanctuary, and 1 Golgari Rot Farm, and 1 Boros Garrison. All of these are used to abuse your Amulet Bloom combo. 1 Khalni Garden to create blockers and sacrifice fodder for Lilianas. 1 Slayers Stronghold to give your Primeval Titan haste. 1 Sunhome Fortress of the Legion to give your Titan double strike and annihilate your opponent. 1 Radiant Fountain if you're against a deck with mountains. 1 Tendo Ice Bridge because you love colored mana that doesn't make you pay life. 1 Mana Confluence because sometimes you have to lower your standards for lands that come into play untapped and don't use charge counters. 1 Forest because basics are funny, and Path to Exile is a thing. 4 Gemstone Mine for 3 turns worth of free colored mana, and you can just bounce them with the bounce lands to get more counters. That's called synergy. 3 Tolaria West to transmute for your packs. 2 Cavern of Souls because uncounterable Primeval Titans are both hilarious and disrespectful to your opponent. And finally 1 Vésuva when you just need that second copy of a one of. I think I got it all. There are going to be plenty of questions about how this deck works in all of the different lines of play. I will answer any of your questions in the comments. I've been studying this monster for a little while now. As for sideboarding, I do not have good news. The combo deck is not fun when it comes to sideboarding. You can move around a couple pieces here and there, but for the most part, it's pretty static. Leyline of Sanctity is great against Burn or anyone who wants to make you discard a lot. Since Blood Moon beats you single-handedly, you need some quick enchantment destruction. The best enchantment removal card for you is probably Nature's Claim. Seal of Primordium is fine, but I just really like additional Nature's Claim. Play both, why not? Just live the dream. Lastly, if Obzan decks are going to continue to be a thing and you really want to play this monstrosity of a deck, run a few annoying creatures. Hornet Queen is the crowd favorite, so that's a good place to start. Again, any questions at all, leave them below. We'll have a long discussion about this deck. Yeah, I have an awful/very awful feeling about this. If you plan on playing this deck, I suggest that you don't bring it to FNM or a big tournament until you've play tested it a lot. There are a ton of decisions you have to make and you won't have infinite time to do that. Get comfortable first. Don't just build this and bring it to your weekend tournament right away. You'll have a terrible time, trust me. As always, subscribe below for the latest and most reliable Magic the Gathering information you could ever need. This is the Mana Source. I'm Wedge. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.